6 more episodes, my lord.
Ooh, welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Neil Breen, and today I am ecstatic to bring you the news that there is going to be an all-new Stargate show coming over at Amazon Prime with the showrunner Martin Gero. And that's actually a name that might be familiar to Stargate fans because he is familiar with the franchise, though you may also know him for being the showrunner on the likes of Blind Spot. And he even credits Stargate for being pretty much the roots of his career, saying, 20 years ago, my first real job in television was a story editor on Stargate Atlantis. I spent 5 years on the franchise working across all 3 series. Stargate taught me everything about making television. It's written into my DNA. I'm beyond thrilled that Amazon MGM Studios has entrusted me with guiding this incredible franchise into its next phase. For those who've kept the gate active through conventions, rewatches, and unwavering faith, this one's for you. And for those who are new to our world, I promise you're in for something extraordinary. And that actually was a really big part of the announcement video they put out. This is meant to not only be a love letter to the fans who have stuck around with the franchise for so long, but on top of that, this is going to be something that welcomes in all viewers from around the world to try and begin their Stargate adventure. So you do not need to watch all 350 episodes of Stargate-related media leading up to this. Now, being perfectly transparent, never seen it. I was more of a Battlestar Galactica Star Trek fan, and Stargate to me was always just kind of on the periphery. But this has made me curious to give it a go, and I've had people essentially, since I first said on my channel that I've never seen Stargate, begging me to give it a try. And so this is probably going to push me over the edge because I do like to be one of those snobs who, before he watches the new thing, sees the old thing. So I'll give it a try probably later this week. But you did hear this right. It's not a reboot. It's going to be an all-new show with a new crew that's apparently going to be telling a new story here. And the responses over on the subreddit seem to be near universally positive. I am always now a little bit hesitant when it comes to Amazon Prime taking on a franchise, but their batting record for science fiction is pretty damn solid. And they have the materials in place, of course, to kind of just go ahead and pick up exactly where this needs to be. And a showrunner who seems to be deeply tied to the franchise, though his overall catalog does have some mixed receptions in there, is a very good sign. And I'll keep you updated for any additional casting news or developments for this new Stargate adventure. I feel like I killed that. Nice! Yeah, there are people apparently involved in the original crew who are going to be in this production, so good sign for fans. One thing that might piss people off, Diet Starbuck. It's the first thing I thought when I saw that character fight me. I don't know who that is. Maybe it's not even a major character. Diet Starbuck.
Let him go.
Frack you. All right, we need to get the hell out of here. Kara, now.
Follow me. Please.
But turning the pages over to the book news of the week, we have a very exciting announcement from Christopher Ruocchio, the author who just finished his Sun Eater epic with the release of Shadows Upon Time. I'm going to be getting you a review of that book later this week. The reception seems to be wildly positive outside of my own little sphere here. I have thoughts kind of all over the map for this one, but getting the actual updates, it seems we've gotten both a title reveal for this new series and the name of the series as a whole, with that title being The God-Stained House, the first part of the Doom Song saga. And just to let you know, if you find yourself having to deal with a God stain, highly recommend one of those Tide sticks. It will get it out with a little bit of elbow grease. Bad joke. The first book is tentatively set to be released in AD 2027 and is going to be telling a fantastical story set in the ancient Mediterranean times. And it came with an epically framed cinematic that says,
Almighty Kythos, God Lord, Sun Lord, Lord of the Earth, O Burning One, hear me, your servant. Your servant has need of you. Here I am come, home from long exile, home at last as you commanded.
But this is going to take us to a little bit more controversial-ish, possibly, piece of book news for this week. And that is because we have seen some authors disqualified from New Zealand's top book prize after it was found out that AI was used in their cover designs. And already I've seen people just like retweeting this headline and being like, haha, f these authors. Blah, blah, blah. They didn't know. See, that's kind of the sad difficulty of this all. Publishers can just do stuff, and we even have a quote from one of the authors who was caught up in the scandal that says, "It's my 22nd book, and it's my 4th collection of short stories. These stories are written over a sort of 20-year period, so for me, it's quite an important book. I just thought it was a photograph of a real cat, and the teeth had been superimposed, but apparently it wasn't. Instead of talking about my book and what the inspiration was, we're talking about bloody AI, which I hate." And this just continues to show how complicated and frustrating these AI decisions can be for creatives, especially when they're entirely outside of their control. Not only is it costing these authors consideration for a prestigious award that could do great things for their career, but on top of that, it shifts the conversation away from the actual material within the book. And again, it wasn't a decision they made. The publishers have said they're disappointed by this as well, because apparently the book awards changed the rules after these books were released, so they were disqualified almost after the fact, to which I would say, don't use AI in the cover to begin with, jackass. But, you know, especially don't not tell your author. God damn. I will say something I've learned. Authors are going to have to start questioning their publishers about who the cover artist is, and et cetera, which I thought would be more standard practice, but I've learned over the years is not. Bweedoo. This takes us to a last-minute fantasy news update that James Islington's The Hierarchy series has been picked up for adaptation by Sony Entertainment. Yes, the same company that has brought us sensational films like The Emoji Movie, Jack and Jill, Catwoman, and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 are now going to be taking on James Islington's Roman-inspired Hierarchy series. I'm kidding, of course. Sony Entertainment has also brought us many of the greatest films of all time. Whiplash, The Social Network, and the recent Spider-Verse films, which begs the question, for you as fans, would you rather see the Hierarchy series done in live action or animated? I actually think for this one, I'd prefer live action. Hear me out. For those of you who don't know, the Hierarchy series, and specifically the first book, The Will of the Many, follows our main character, Viz, who through mysterious reasons has had his family massacred and went from being someone who was noble born to now working as a prison guard, though he's given an opportunity to not only solve the mystery of why his family was butchered, but also reclimb the social ladder through some rebel figures and also internal turmoil factions at play within the established society, and all he has to do is make it through a deadly academy. It's a hell of a book. I love The Will of the Many, and I thought The Strength of the Few was a solid follow-up. And it's that follow-up that actually makes me really curious to see what could be done here in the live-action format. With the most bleeding-edge technology they've been deploying to realize fantasy worlds, I think that could just be so profoundly wonderful, though it could be equally as beautiful, of course, in the animated mediums. I don't know. This one, I just have a good feeling about actually making it to the finish line as well. If you've been watching fantasy news for a while, you know we announce so many things have been acquired by studios, and then nothing happens because, you know, the only thing that's guaranteed to have occurred at this point is James Islington got a paycheck. Nice. And then from here, we have to see if Sony Entertainment actually does anything with it. I just have a good feeling about this one, though. I think it's made such a splash from its release. The second book still sold like crazy. The momentum is there, I think, to actually get this done. So it's got me excited. And I'm, oh man, damn, yeah. Hell yeah. I'm also just a huge fan of seeing ancient world action sequences in live action. I watched Troy at very formative years. And the market demand is there right now, I feel like, for Roman-inspired fantasy to change things up, possibly in the post-A Song of Ice and Fire landscape of live action fantasy that's currently unfolding. Let me know what you think of this acquisition in the comments down below. And now back to your previously recorded news. So, god damn it, but I'm going to go ahead and bring up the mood because we have some genuinely really exciting cover reveals this week, starting with one from Bitterbop Stiggity-Biggle. That's right, the Sander Mander has gone ahead and given us a new cover for the Warbreaker novel. This is coming with a lot of new covers for the Cosmere recently, and this has art done by Dan Dasantos Art, and it'll be dropping on shelves July 28th of 2026. The use of color here fits the story, I guess, is that spoilers? I don't really know. It just fits the world building and story of Warbreaker extremely well, but I also enjoy the eye-pleasing composition of this, like, mirroring things divided by night blood brilliant. I think this has the potential to like look as good as it does in person, or depending on if they go with a more glossy or matte texture for the actual finish of the art, could look even extraordinarily better. Because that kind of like gleam effect. I want to know how that's actually going to do. Is it going to be those things where it actually does? You've seen those covers where like the light shifts under light, or is that just what it is? Because how would they even show that? I'm confused now. I confused myself. And Matt Dinneman, author of Dungeon Crawler Carl's crusade to make all of his fans go broke, continues, this time with the release of the Dungeon Crawler Carl role-playing game. With the announcement, hello, crawlers! Get ready to enter your very own world dungeon. Why should Carl and Donut have all the fun? This campaign brings you not one, but two Dungeon Crawler Carl tabletop games. Dungeon Crawler Carl role-playing game, create your own crawler and descend through the world dungeons with your friends, and Dungeon Crawler Carl Unstoppable, a solo or co-op deck building adventure based on John D. Clare's hit system. And then you have the details of both games going through and artwork by Luciano Felitas. There's going to be a pre-launch party February 2nd and a campaign launch April 14th. And dude, even I'm starting to have a point where I don't even have to buy all these because some of them are sent to me, but still, like, calm down, Matt. Put the brakes on. God damn it. No, really, I'm just excited. And I'm fuck. But that's not the end of the cover reveals for this week, because we also had a cover reveal drop for The Tinder Box by M.R. Carey. The million-copy best-selling author, this book is pitched as prepare to be entranced by this utterly unique and completely spellbinding dark fantasy tale. In a kingdom forgotten by history, a legend unfolds. Wounded by his country's endless wars, former soldier Mag Tresti finds work in the home of a reclusive widow, Jenna Marcella. But Jenna is more than she seems. A witch of great skill and might, she hides her power and her deep-laid plans behind a mask of harmless respectability. When a dead demon falls out of the sky, the fate of the soldier and the witch is irrevocably intertwined. On the demon's body, Mag finds a Tinder Box, an artifact of terrifying magical power that can not only grant his every wish, but also change the fate of nations. This is the tale of spellcraft and devilry, of witchcraft and trickery, of the wickedness that resides within a few, the goodness that lies deep within us all, and the choices on which our lives turn. With cover art by Hannah Wood. And then one of my all-time favorite fantasy authors has come out with a new book cover and book announcement. That's right, Fonda Lee has announced her next epic adventure, and that is going to be The Last Contract of Isako. This will be coming out May 5th of 2026 by Orbit Books. With art by Tommy Pocket. A battle-worn samurai undertakes one last mission on a merciless planet where death is always a mere breath away. Isako is a legendary swordsman, but every legend must come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow, to walk out into the frozen wasteland of their planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her death. But when she's offered a final mission, she can't refuse, especially when she realizes who lies at the center of all. Martin, her last and worst apprentice, who somehow made his way to the top. As she's thrust into a world of corporate espionage and shadowy secrets, what she uncovers could forever change humanity's existence among the stars. Space Samurai by Fonda Lee. Here's my money, you can take it now. And the final cover reveal this week comes to us from Shannon Chakraborty, The Tapestry of Fate. And this takes my favorite cover of the week, and it's not even much of a competition. God damn, with cover art by Natasha McKenzie. And has a release date set May 19th of 2026. Set your sails and prepare for another high seas adventure with Amina Al-Sarafi. The Tapestry of Fate is here, and it's as breathtaking as the story it holds. Amina's next quest, a perilous mission to steal a spindle that could rewrite fate itself, while navigating storms, sorcery, and a crew with their own secrets. Will she outwit a cunning sorceress and save the day, or will fate weave a different story? I'm going to take a guess, because I've read books. She's going to save the day. But maybe not. We're getting more of those stories these days. Now let's go ahead and get into the quickie news of the week. It seems that House of the Dragon has officially been renewed for a season 4, and Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, before even premiering, has been renewed for a season 2. And then excitingly for the sci-fi space, the genius behind Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, Vince Gilligan, has started releasing his new sci-fi drama, Pluribus, and it is already breaking records for Apple TV. I have not started it. I also plan on starting this show and reviewing it probably on my second channel. Not entirely sure yet. I'm still trying to figure out what goes second channel, what goes main channel. Give me opinions in the comments down below. And then in a story that's gonna mean a whole lot to a very small group of people, but I'm thrilled for this group of people and I'm right there with you. We have had a trailer drop for the next Neil Breen film. That is right, Dire Duplicity, and a lot of Neil Breen fans have been very concerned that his next project would possibly heavily rely on AI, but not only is that not seen here, I'm seeing a severe lack of stock footage. As someone who has to use a lot of stock footage for my own YouTube channel, I will see stock footage that I've used here in videos in actual movies and TV shows every now and then. It's odd, but here, clean. I didn't spot one thing that looked familiar from my own Motion Array Artlist catalog. By the way, I just left Motion Array for Artlist. I regret it. I plan on going back for anyone who cares. But this takes us to some wildly fascinating industry news, and that is because an important comparison has come out between Valve and other majorly successful companies, with a headline that reads, Valve makes almost $50 million per employee, raking in more cash per person than Google, Amazon, or Microsoft. The gaming giant only employs 350 people, but is on track to generate $17 billion with a B dollars this year. I would take a job there in a heartbeat, wouldn't even question it. This article from Tom's Guide goes on to claim that it's one of the most efficient companies in existence, and that does become hard to argue against with this statistic. And by comparison, a few years back, Microsoft was averaging about 18 million per employee at their company. There's very much so an argument to be made here of you're comparing apples to oranges. I get it, but it's still an interesting examination of a alternative corporate structure that has worked extremely well for Valve. But Valve itself acknowledges this in one of their own manuals, stating, our profitability per employee is higher than that of Google or Amazon or Microsoft, and we believe strongly the right thing to do in that case is to put a maximum amount of money back into each employee's pocket. The company claims it has one of the best compensation packages in the industry, and we can see this in the leaked data shared on The Verge, which shows that Valve spent nearly $450 million on employee salaries with a weighted average of more than $1.3 million per employee. The company likely achieved this because it's a completely privately owned corporation beholden to neither stockholders nor private equity, so its owners, such as Gabe Newell himself, plus some partners, can focus on the long-term viability of the company instead of pushing it to maximize returns at the expense of gamers and publishers. It also has a unique flat company structure where everyone works as a team member and there are no managers or C-suite executives. And I want to reiterate, if you're hiring social media team, janitor, whatever, I'd likely take hire me. But speaking of video game news, let's go ahead and get into some fun announcements, like an upcoming Zoopunk game titled Zoopunk, with Nick Offerman voicing the lead character. You seem to be playing a badass scavenger rabbit making their way across a desolate apocalyptic world, kind of Cyberpunk meets Borderlands possibly, and yeah, badass concept. Personally, I really loved the way this trailer looked, but I was sad to see that almost immediately there were accusations of AI being used towards the company TIE Games, though they've responded and said absolutely not, and provided what seems to be a really good argument that you're just seeing a gameplay trailer of an early game and cinematics that were created as the way cinematics are. And you know how we talked about AI witch hunts? They're still going to be a thing, stating, all our worlds are original creations and the accumulation of our artists, hard work, and dedication. AI will only be used to assist players in producing user-generated content at a lower cost, such as vehicle skins, clothing, color schemes, and similar items. In other words, AI serves as a tool to support players in secondary creations and in maintaining the mod community. To which the response to that has been mixed. Some people saying, okay, you're not using AI to create the game and just supplying it as a tool to creators, and also showing that their original accusation of AI in the trailer is false. But then, of course, some people saw that response and went, no, I want no AI in any way, shape, or form. And man, we're going to keep seeing these arguments develop for a long time. And it can be frustrating because, once again, it pulls from the actual conversation around the game. And just putting all of this out of my mind, looking at the game, it looked pretty damn badass and good. Again, like that Borderlands meets Cyberpunk in a Zootopia skin vibe wasn't something I know I needed. I'm interested to play, and I think made the furry community all simultaneously explode. On the complete other end of the spectrum, we had a statement released from the company behind Dispatch, a recent fantasy superhero game that has been taking the streamer community and gaming community by storm now that it's completed and all of its episodes out, I believe. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. And actually, I'm planning on treating myself by making this the first game that I play after I finish the current book I'm working on. Huzzah! But in response to AI being used within the industry, Nick Herman, an
creative director,
said, so yeah, honestly, AI feels like a production solution, not a creative one. Maybe it's a creative one if you aren't creative. Damn! To which Michael Chong, an executive producer, added, whatever we're building, it has to connect. It's got to be made by people. It's got to connect to people. We're not looking at AI. We're monitoring the stuff that AI is doing like everybody else, but it seems to be having a lot of trouble trying to get a good enough spot, and good enough for us is the enemy.
There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
We're also not getting up every morning and talking to ourselves like, hey, what if we did this with less people? What's the lowest number of people we can use to make this thing? And the reason I bring up this story, even though I know at this point it can feel very redundant to continue to talk about the technology, is I actually think they hit on something there that's really important. There is going to be, if there's a theme here in this fantasy news, in my opinion, a growing divide between companies that are trying to maintain a human, not only working environment and atmosphere supporting its employees, but creative intent, right? We already have the most extremes of this. The super huge, humongous Call of Duty makers who are trying to just maximize profits for shareholders by milking the gamers as much as possible, and of course, implementing AI as a shortcut to that. And then the actual, hey, these are still run by human beings who care about their employees and wanted to create a piece of art, gaming developers. And 10 years ago, I wouldn't have seen this coming in the video game space because I'm not informed enough and I'm not as plugged into the community, but it's certainly playing out in real time before us now. And it's going to be up to the consumer of which companies are able to thrive. Obviously, it's not going to be a totality, one side comes out over the other, but it's going to be important to recognize that the latter has a far more uphill battle because I think this is true, and I'm sad to see it. More and more audiences are going to forget to be angry at AI slop, and as the technology gets better, a lot more of it's going to slide under the radar. But from what I've seen, the reactions to Dispatch, though I've been trying to keep myself away from the game as much as possible, so when I consume it, I have a surprise. People seem to be responding to the very human elements to that game, that story, the creativity that was put into the mechanics of it that have been seen before, but are evolved and elevated in a way that AI, at least as its current state, could not do. Let's actually check real quick to see if anything else dropped in the time while I've been covering fantasy news, because that's been consistently happening. It did not. Okay, we're caught up. That's going to take us to our final news of the week, which is going to be another trailer drop for Project Hail Mary. And the last few movies that I've said I'm really excited to see here in fantasy news have turned out to be duds, at least to critical reception and audience responses. So I'm going to say I'm not excited for this one. I'm not. In fact, I'm furious it's even made. I don't even want it to be good. Please be good. I really want this to be awesome. I mean, I take that back. I want it to be bad. This has been your latest episode of Fantasy News, but we have one more exciting final left turn here, and that is because our in-the-field correspondents, Austin and Rich, got to go recently to the Eater Gala, where the celebration was held for the release of Shadows Upon Time. And if you'd like to see a little bit of behind-the-scenes look of what that event was like, a convention for an author, which is becoming a more common thing, here's what it looked like.
Hey, thanks, Daniel. We're here from the Eater Gala. Me and Mike here. Austin's somewhere there lifting books or... Oh, he just looks confused.
We're here with the one and only Christopher Ruocchio, who's blessed us, with actually letting us into his home, mistakenly.
I was waylaid.
Well, we're currently in your writing man cave, and it's very cool.
It is
thanks.
pretty glorious.
Thanks. No, this was mostly my dad. We did all the carpentry, the floor. I painted everything and did the stain and stuff, but Dad did the carpentry, the cabinets.
I think you come to an event like this and you think about what it is that kind of brought us all together, and it's Christopher's wonderful books, and meeting other creators has been a blast. We're really here to celebrate what Christopher's achieved. Finishing a series, which is something that's very rare for a lot of fantasy and sci-fi authors, it's just been very exciting.
That a dig at any author in particular? Oh, you're not going to name
None.
After we click the end record button, I'm going to see what that dig is at. But we'll show you a bit more from this event.
Thank you for having us here. We had an awesome time at the gala. That's why we're here in the first place. Do you want to tell people about the gala, what they missed out on?
Yeah. So my Discord sort of fan club had been talking about making me do a convention after I went to Dragonsteel Nexus, and I thought about that for about 3 seconds and decided that was way too much work. So we decided to compromise, and we did a little bit more than a book signing, but a little bit less than a convention. So we took the evening. And we had dinner, we had drinks, and we had these guys out. Mike from Mike's Book Reviews came and emceed the whole thing. John Minton was there. Jordan from iWizard, all good friends. And they did a bit of a panel while I was signing, because otherwise, those 2 hours of awkward silence and waiting in line. We did a bunch of stuff. I did a presentation on things to come, special editions, the new series, which I guess we can talk about. We'll get into that later.
You had 350 people
at
the
about 350.
event?
Yeah, I think. I don't remember the exact head count, but it was around that, which is certainly the biggest event I've ever had for people showing up for me. So that was very cool. Like I said at the gala, this is the only job I ever wanted, and the only job I ever really worked at. And for the series to be done and to have finished it with so many people there, you spend most of your writing. I spend most of my time here in this room by myself with headphones on, pretending I can't hear my toddler downstairs during work hours, which is hard. Going out into the world and meeting readers is a really big sort of gear shift change. And it was very special, and I'm very grateful to you guys for helping with it. Good Lord, and to everyone else, and to my wife most especially, but to everybody who came, and everybody who wanted to come, and everybody who's read the book, because we couldn't have done it without you.
We're here live at the gala. I'm here with Book Beverages and Besties. Well, half of you. We have the other half off camera. How are you enjoying the gala so far?
I'm having a fantastic time.
So what are you most excited for? We have Ruocchio's going to speak, I think, in like 30 minutes or so. Right now we're in the VIP lounge. Are you enjoying the ambiance?
Yes. Excellent lighting, excellent view. Y'all can't see it, but it's very lovely. Tabitha, how are you enjoying the event?
It is amazing. I have had so many of the butternut squash risottos.
What is your favorite thing about Sun Eater?
Ashes of Man, and grief, and sadness.
What is your favorite Sun Eater book?
Howling Dark and Disqualified Gods are a real tie for me.
Disqualified Gods.
Demon in White, still the best book. Has always been the best book.
Empire of Silence.
Oh, Jake, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You're from Nerd Level Rising. I mean, is it great to see all of the booktubers here and the fans of Sun Eater all in one place?
Incredible. It's amazing.
You showed earlier. Do you want to show your tattoo off of Sun Eater? How cool. How freaking cool.
Special shout out to specifically Isaac.
Yeah, so the thing I was not expecting was to be given presents like it was my wedding, and Isaac made Hadrian's sword out of wood, sort of to James Cook's design from the Diamond Edition, which is probably my favorite of the sword designs. No shade to the other artists, of course, but this one is, I think, very distinctive, very cool. And so this is very special. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet. I have a sword rack over there, but it's full at the moment, and I don't know what to get rid of. So I'm going to have to build a new one.
He does have a lot of swords back there.
I see wall space for a second sword rack.
Your gala did help us solve that mystery of, if anybody sees our set, we're not on the set now, but look at any video on our set, we have a Dune. What do you call them?
Crysknife.
The Crysknife. So we have a Crysknife on our Dune shelf that somebody sent to us, and we had no idea who sent it. It turns out it was Isaac, because we saw the sword that Isaac gave to Christopher, and he's like, "Hey, I sent you guys a Crysknife." And we're like, "Oh my God, he solved a mystery that was a year in the making, or over
mystery
a year in the
solved."
making."
To everybody who gave me something I wasn't expecting it, and thank you.
Yeah, there's also some great cosplay at the event. Someone did do a stitched, handmade C. Elson
doll
plushie.
That was
amazing.
Cool. I had never seen a costume before, and there were like 7 or 8, I think. I saw a couple Hadrians, a couple Selenis. I saw no Valkas, actually. Interesting. But there was a small coterie of C. Elson present. My 2-year-old thought they were very funny. She likes outer space. She's like, "Daddy saw the aliens," and she's been giggling about that for the last couple of days. So
also tattoos.
There were tattoos. Yeah, I knew people had gotten tattoos, but I hadn't seen one in person before, and I saw 2, I think, that evening, which was that's an honor because you're stuck with them.
What do you have on the horizon?
Well, the big thing is the new. We did announce the new series. By the time this airs, I will have posted the trailer for everybody. But we're in a little bit of space where only people who were there have seen it, unless people like phone recorded it, which that would be cool. I'm not Star Wars.
I saw some already that were recorded.
Nice.
I was on Twitter a little bit.
I'm not Star Wars. Very cool. It's called the Doom Song Saga, and it's a fantasy. It is an epic fantasy, but I'm not just trying to draw the line there. It is trying to make it as classic a fantasy as I can, and to sort of bring fantasy back down to brass tacks. The first book is called The God-Stained House. It'll come out sometime in 2027. I have not written a word of it yet, but the outline is done. I had hoped to have the prologue. I'd planned to read it initially. Actually, that would have been a bad idea. It would have been like 40 minutes probably, and people would go to sleep. Author readings are not, it's not the same as an audiobook. You got stuff to do. There's drinks. Nah, wouldn't have worked. But I'm working on it now. Actually, they just saw the map. It's on the table over there.
Very cool map, yes.
You know, I'm reliving my middle school days, not paying attention in math class, drawing maps.
You said your daughter added to some lore as well.
She did. She scribbled all over it, and I was devastated and managed to erase it. Fortunately, she grabbed a pencil, and she grabbed my signing Sharpies, actually, the day before the gala, and signed my wall. So I just painted that over.
What a privilege.
You know, that's life. It's set in a fantasy world that is inspired by the Mediterranean of the late Bronze Age. Primarily Greece. It's a little bit of the sort of early sort of Phoenician civilization as well, especially towards Spain. A little bit of like the ancient Basques and so on, and we'll get into that later. But it's a story of a brother and sister, Adonis and Daria, the prince and princess of a kingdom called Ragos, whose father has been slain, and whose death they must set to rights on the orders of the sun god Kythos, and their story goes from there. There are 2 point of view characters. It is third person, and my goal is to really find a different style with this. So the way I'm doing that is forcing myself to write shorter. I've been reading, I'm always reading Tolkien, but I'd been reading, they're up there, the Easton Presses, but I've also been reading Howard again, and how much narrative he's able to pack into a 10,000 word novelette is really a lost art, and trying to do that instead of write, I just wrote a 400,000 word book. I'm not in a hurry to do it again, and really to find a different voice and a different way of using language to tell the story rather than Hadrian's rambling style, I think is sort of very important here. And so it's going to be artistically a different project. It'll still be me, but I hope it's a sufficiently different voice for people without losing whatever it is about Sun Eater that people liked.
So what else also happened at the gala? Do you want to tell the people out there?
I think just the only thing I really want to say is, is more of what I've already said, which is thank you. I do a lot of this job by myself, like I said, and it's hard to remember that the stories actually affect anybody besides me, because for so long I wrote the stories by myself for nobody and talked to almost nobody about them. If any of you were, writing, you know how hard it is to try and get someone to just beta read the thing that you're writing. It's easier for me to find beta readers now, but I remember, it was just me, right? And so it's still hard to think about think about things differently and to remember the stories having an impact and to see that. I would not make a costume. I would not spend 50 hours making a costume. And it's very humbling when people do, and for the stories to matter, because they're just, this sounds like I'm putting it down. It's something I made up, right? It's just something I was doing for fun as early as middle school because I didn't want to pay attention in math class. For people to care so much is really a humbling thing, and it's impossible to keep sight of that in this room, right? Yeah, it was just a very cool and special experience.
But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Check out Two to Ramble if you would like to support Austin and Rich, and have a good one, y'all. Peace.